Welcome, dear friends, to Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with one more spirit of truth. This book that is in English, not published, but here commented at Cardiac Radio. Our team translated it, and we're relaying to you this message that were published in 1961. 100 years after several passages of the Gospel according to Spiritism was written by Kardec. Passages that later he published in the Gospel according to Spiritism, which was in 1864. But he keeps the dates also to show us that he didn't publish these books overnight in the sense of like, let me write, and he wrote it. No, it's a work of years. When we see of science keeping the dates of its discoveries, we're talking about the chronology of the discoveries. In Spiritism, it's not different. It's a science too, as Kardec said, the science of the spirit. And we keep the dates of each discovery in the sense, the revelation, we call it, because we didn't discover. The good spirits let us know through the mediums, and Kardec compiled the masterpiece. He was so brave, so courageous to bring Christianity to another level on earth. Spiritism reveals what the literal words cannot explain. The promised consoler that comes and recaps passages of the master of all masters, Jesus, but in ways that is very unprecedented today. Andre Luiz, the spirit doctor who has been delighting our lives with his writings, his generous reports on the afterlife, on experiences in two lives. Andre Luiz teaches us to see the world with different lenses. It's a bifocal lenses. He teaches us to see ourselves, to learn about ourselves, but also to see more clearly the world and in two realms, the spiritual and the material. We are spirit beings connected to the physical body, as you know. And we are constantly in touch with the spirit realm because we're spirits. That's where we are, but connected to the material realm. And this relationship. If we recall Kardec's definition, he says, Spiritism is the science that has objective, the object of its science is the spirit, and the origin and the nature of its spirit, the destiny of the spirit, and the relationship between the spirit and the material realm. This is what we study. Today, we're going to recap with Andre Luiz, chapter 10, item 1 of the Gospel according to Spiritism by Kardec. This chapter is so important. Blessed are the merciful. Are we merciful? What is to be merciful, right? You may be asking, are we merciful at all? Merciful. I'll get the definition. Showing and exercising mercy. And what is mercy then? Okay, compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone whom it is within our power to punish or harm. We could demand, but we are merciful. Often, we as parents, we pass the limits and we're not merciful with our children. Sometimes we're way too permissive when we get into the guilt trip. That's no good. We need to balance ourselves and practice mercy. Jesus said, blessed are the merciful, he says, for they themselves shall receive mercy. This is in Matthew 5:7. Do you feel we need compassion and mercy from others? Let us think. Would we like people to understand us more? Would we like that people forgive our shortcomings, wrongdoings? Would we? Would we like that they look at us with kinds of an eye of compassion? So Jesus says, let us give to others what we want to receive. We want mercy, but we will only receive it when we are merciful. Andrea Luiz today, inspired by Jesus' very statement, lesson, he brings to us a very short chapter, but deep. It's so obvious that he doesn't need many words, but he's reminding us about what we need to do in the realm of action. He begins, do not condemn. Are we judgmental? Mamma mia, we're experts in being judgmental, right? Yes, we are. We're judgmental. But it doesn't work, right? The minute we stop criticizing or making a point about something or someone, we don't feel good. So he says, from the get go, he says, do not condemn. So what do we do? He continues, help people, help the other. Instead of condemning, but Vanessa, I can't help because they live in another country. I can't help them because they're my boss and I don't have this close relationship. But we can help with prayer, with good thoughts, good feelings. We want people to look at us with eyes of admiration. Let us admire people. And cultivate serenity, says Andre Luis. Use your own resources to do the good. Because sometimes we use the resources of others, claiming it's ours. So here's a parenthesis for parents and educators. When we invite them to help in an outreach program, we don't buy things for them to give saying you are giving it. Daddy is giving and you're helping me give it because we can't make them feel something that is not true. They didn't buy it. The child cannot be taught illusions because deep inside they know. Like a therapist was saying the other day, she said, if you tell children that they're great, great, great all the time, they know that they have imperfections. They're gonna start thinking that there's something wrong because what we're saying that they are is not exactly who they see themselves. So we need to also moderate how we come across encouraging people. We need to encourage in such a way that we do not cross the boundary of truth. So use your own resources to do the good. Proceed with kindness, with no display of virtue, being kind but humble. Some people, they want to show off as if they're so kind, and they change the tone of voice, and they talk in such a way, but it's not truthful. We've never heard Jesus doing that, being mellow, kind. No, no, no. He was kind but firm, right? It's a good combination, the masculine and the feminine in us, balancing it. And whatever the problem, he says, do the best you can. So when we see a problem, many people, they run away. They're like, it's not my problem. So he's not saying whenever there is a problem that is yours. He's saying whenever there's a problem. So if there is a problem in our nation, we need to partake, at least in prayers. If there is a problem in our family, at least in prayers, we're going to be of help. but do the best you can. And how do we verify if we're doing the best we can? There's one simple measurement. Jesus said, the golden rule. Would I like somebody to do what I'm doing? Let's say you have $10,000 in your account and it's beyond what you are spending. So it's an extra money you have. And then you know somebody who is struggling because they lost a job, etc. And you've heard that they are in need. And you're like, but that's not my problem. But would you like somebody who had that money that you do to give something to you to make your life a little easier? That's how we measure. It's like doing to others what we would like to receive. Do not admit the supremacy of evil. I think this is one of the most important sentences today because during the pandemic, we tend to feel negative. And with social, economical, political issues, we tend to believe that the world is corrupted, that there's so much evil. And he's saying, no, 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 no. Do not believe that evil is that powerful because only love is that powerful. Evil may be destructive, but it's not everlasting and it's not omnipresent, omnipotent. It's not because only God is. How many of us tend to look at things always with the eyes of there must be something wrong? If there's something, that feeling of it's so good to be true, right? Oh, this is so good to be true. Why? In Jupiter, it is really good. In Saturn, it's really good. But do we want to feel that good? So we need to believe in the good inside of us, inside of you. What is winning? Evil, which is ignorance and inexperience, or the good? Let us measure from within because what we see in the world is a projection of us. We can only recognize what we know. So if we know within, we're going to see outside. Jesus always has always seen the best in us. Why? Because he only sees the best in him, and he is the best. He's already pure. We can't conceive what it is. I agree with you. We can't. But do you admit that inside of you, there is not only evil, there's good too? Do you feel it? What is the good in you? Avoid any thought, word, attitude, or gesture that may aggravate someone's complications. That is so important. Sometimes people are troubled, our children, grandchildren, neighbors, friends, and they come and they are exasperated. And then we say a word that is not careful. So we need to be more cautious in our behavior instead of like entering rooms and talking to people because people think it's so beautiful. No, no, no. To be respectful is beautiful. There's a beautiful chapter in this book, The Family Virtues Guide, teaching virtues in family. And it talks about respect. And it's so beautiful because Andre Luiz is talking about respect here. It's page 221. He's saying respect is an attitude of honoring people and caring about their rights. Being respectful is reflected in the courtesy with which we treat one another, the way we speak, the way we treat other people's belongings. Speaking and acting respectfully gives people the dignity they deserve. And it continues talking about when we honor ourselves as well, respecting self respect. So beautiful. So in this line, Andrea Luiz is reminding us that to be merciful, we need to be understanding, we need to be respectful of people's complications. We can't complicate even more, aggravating it, making it even worse, worsening their complications. So that's why he continues saying, listen patiently and speak with support. So he's reminding us. It's almost as if he's teaching us some spiritual, emotional etiquette. Yes, boundaries. No relationship is going to go far without boundaries. We can't speak everything we want, especially to the closest ones. We can't. Oh, but I want to be sincere. But sincere without kindness doesn't help us. How often I was sincere without kindness, it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. Being truthful and kind, it's a practice for us. But he's teaching us deep spiritual etiquette. And he's saying, remember that tomorrow you may also need assistance. And in any undesirable situation, even if the next demonstrate the need for reprimand, the neighbor, observe according to the lesson of Jesus, if you are in a position to cast a stone. He's talking about being merciful. Because sometimes we have a position of authority at work, at home, in our community, and we see people who are not behaving well, and we, boom, no, we wish we knew of these rules when we were kids, but now we know. And Jesus has been teaching this spiritual etiquette for millennia. And today, Andre Luiz is reminding us, doesn't it feel good when we take it easy in our relationships? We're more careful. If your inner child is feeling like, I want attention, I need to speak, because that's the inner child. I need to speak. I need to tell. Let's rescue that inner child first. Let's not allow, because that's when relationships become toxic and symbiotic. When the needs of our inner child need to be fulfilled by somebody else. And then it's a disaster. So ideally, we as adults look at our inner child and console that inner child, educate that inner child. The inner child is saying, but that person did something wrong. They did this. Okay. But how often we make mistakes ourselves? Can we really cast that stone? Would we like people to be understanding with us? What if now we take it easy and practice this? Listening patiently, cultivating serenity. I love the expression cultivate serenity because it's like a plantation. We care for it daily, daily, daily. We're there, ta-ta-tan, ta-ta-tan, putting our own resources, caring, doing the best we can, believing in the good always. So today we are going to propose, as the spirit mentors are saying to us, that we exercise another level of being merciful. Let us let us practice it by feeling, by feeling how good it is, how sweet it is when we forgive, when we say, I let go. I'm lighter now. I forgive you. I forgive myself. Let us spend the day, let us spend the day being understanding of one another. Let's work on it together, shall we? Let's put in action so we're not hypocrites. Unfortunately, that's what we are when we know all of this and we don't practice. We don't want to go there. We're tired of that pattern. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy too. Let us emanate mercy and say, I am merciful. I am merciful. Repeat it throughout the day and let us see how much of a difference it's going to make in our daily lives. Friends, this is the action for a new beginning. The Spirit of Truth came to remind us that there is always good news. And the good news today is we are merciful. Let us repeat it and feel it and project this mercy because God created us so. We just need to allow it to blossom. Thank you, friends.